In the last 10 years, artificial intelligence has become a huge part of our daily lives, especially for young people like us. Apps like TikTok, Instagram, Google, and even Face ID on our phones use AI to collect and analyze information about us. This affects how we communicate, what we see online, and even the decisions we make during our daily lives. For many people, using these technologies is something they do all the time, often without thinking about it. Even though artificial intelligence can be useful and make things much easier, it has also created problems related to privacy. For example, many people don't realize how much of their personal data is being collected, stored, and used by companies and governments. According to the Pew Research Center, most users feel concerned about their privacy, but they still continue using these platforms much of their daily lives. Because of this, organizations and researchers have started to warn about risks of AI, especially when it comes to personal data and surveillance. Us, as a team, believe that artificial intelligence represents a serious threat to the right to privacy, and that its use should be more controlled and more transparent. To understand this better, Santiago will explain one of their main problems.
One of the biggest problems with artificial intelligence is how it collects personal data. Many AI systems depend on large amounts of information, including location, search history, preferences, and online behavior. The problem that most people don't fully understand is how that data is being used. And according to Harvard Business Review, companies use AI not only to analyze data, but also to predict and influence a user's behavior, such as what we buy or what content we see. This creates a situation where people are constantly being monitored without being fully aware of it. Over time, this can reduce our autonomy because, our decisions are being influenced by algorithms instead of being completely free. Some people argue that massive data collection benefits society because it allows personalization of services and improves security. For example, apps like Google Maps or Spotify need personal data to give better recommendations and surveillance systems that could help prevent crime. While that can be true, most of the time users are not given clear information or real control over their data. Also, many platforms collect more information than what is actually necessary. Because of this, the negative effect on privacy are usually stronger than the benefits of personalization. Now, Alberto will explain another important impact related to this issue.
Another important issue is how artificial intelligence is being used for surveillance. Technologies like facial recognition can identify and track people in real time, sometimes without their consent. According to Amnesty International, these systems have been already used in different cities, raising concerns about mass surveillance. This means that people can be watched and monitored constantly, which affects their freedom and behavior. When people feel observed, they may stop expressing themselves freely or acting naturally. Some argue that these technologies help improve security and reduce crime. However, the problem is that without clear limits, surveillance can easily be abused. Governments or companies could use this technology to control people instead of protecting them. Because of this, the risks of surveillance are not only technical but also social and ethical. Now, Andres will explain this issue from a philosophical perspective.
Another extremely important issue is how artificial intelligence challenges the ethical value of privacy. When personal data is collected and used without clear consent, people lose control over their own information. This creates an imbalance of power between individuals and large companies or governments. From a philosophical perspective, Helen Nissenbaum argues that privacy is not just about secrecy, but about contextual integrity. This means that information should be only shared in ways that are appropriate to the situation. However, artificial intelligence often takes data from one context and uses it in another, without permission, breaking that integrity. At the same time, Yuval Noah Harari warns that the combination of big data and AI could allow governments or corporations to understand people better than they understand themselves. If that happens, those in power could manipulate decisions, behavior, and even opinions. Some people argue that giving up some privacy is necessary for technological progress, personalization, and greater security. However, progress should not come at a cost of basic human rights. Privacy is essential for freedom, autonomy, and dignity. And basically, this idea perfectly connects with John Stuart Mill, who argued that freedom should only be limited to prevent harm to others. If AI systems invade privacy without clear justification, they're limiting freedom in an unethical way. Also, connecting it to philosophy, Immanuel Kant argued that people should never be treated only as a means to an end. When personal data is used mainly to profit or control, individuals are treated as tools instead of being respected as human beings as they should. This perfectly means that the problem is not only technological, but deeply ethical.
In conclusion, even artificial intelligence has many advantages. Its impact on privacy has been a problem in the recent years, as the OpenAI controversy. It affects how personal data is used, increasing surveillance, and changing the balance of power between individuals and institutions. Also, it creates risk related to control, lack of transparency, and loss of freedom. For this reason, we think it is important to promote more responsible use, better regulations, and better awareness. For example, companies should be more transparent about how they use the data they have about individuals, and governments should establish clear limits to prevent abuse. At the same time, people be more conscious about the information they share online in the chats. Artificial intelligence is not completely bad, but without regulations, without control and a balance, it can be seriously affecting our privacy. That is why it is important to use it more consciously and responsibly